organization development has an intention to create a more collaborative, more just, more equitable, more inclusive world. And the reason it does that, because it just creates more productive organizations. Its intent is to create an alternative to patriarchy. Its intent is to realize that the people at the top don't know any more than the people in the middle at the bottom, and in some ways, the inmates run the prison. So our contribution to organizations is to try to balance out the voices and the influence and the sense of accountability. Now, there's a difference in the Eastern cultures. People value relationships. Southern cultures, people value relationships. Western cultures, like the United States, is deeply individualistic. And so in some sense, the West needs to learn from the East. And you have an advantage. And so I would think part of the fact of this global conference is to say, what can we learn from Eastern culture, which reverses the flow of dominance of the last 50 or 100 years. Also, organization development is designed to create an alternative to colonialism. And in my notion, economically, we're entering the era of the end of consumerism. And so up to now, we've measured ourselves by GDP. We've measured ourselves by average annual income. That measure is unsustainable. And it's hard to recognize that because the airwaves are controlled by the religion called consumerism. But it seems to me that we're in an era where relationship, self-sufficiency, community is going to be most valued. And my happiness cannot be measured over a certain level by consumer consumption, average annual income. And so I think organization development should get interested in economics. I'm interested in economics. I'm interested in alternative economics, in cooperative economies, in economies of generosity. And in places like Indonesia or China and India, most people still live in a subsistence economy. But in a consumer world, we have contempt for subsistence living. So we're going to have to revalue subsistence living. And so what this function knows about is how to organize human beings. You know when you get 100 people in the room what to do with them. Most of the culture doesn't. Most of the world, when they get them in a room, they line them up in rows like sardines. And they speak and use PowerPoint. And then they ask if they have any questions. And that's not good conditions for learning or transformation. So it seems to me that this conference in its process and the way you come together and its content says, well, why don't we be a stance or a moment in the world where we experience the transformation, which is the only way transformation occurs is when it's chosen. You can't transform other people. That's colonialism. You can't develop other people. That's colonialism. You can't do performance appraisals. That's just a reminder every year that I own you. So you're trying to create a collaborative culture. And to me, the civil service is a great group to do that because that's called public service. So come to this conference. There's a lot of CEOs coming, and this will be the one conference where we welcome CEOs as learners and participants. We don't put them on panels and treat them as if they know how to create culture. They know management, but we're all trying to discover leadership. So come to the conference, and who knows what will happen.